Welcome to the Savvy Leader Podcast, the place for growth, learning, and inspiration for leaders just like you. I'm your host, Kristen Gallatin, and each week we will dive into the grit, grace, and gratitude it takes to become the savvy leader you were always meant to be. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Savvy Leader Podcast. Today, I am joined by guest Tracy Fallon. She is owner of Prioritize and Thrive Coaching. She is a midlife reinvention coach. Did you know there was such a thing? How many of us could just grab onto that and run with it, right? So Tracy is here, and we're going to talk about so many great things having to do with reinvention and the many stages of life. Tracy, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thanks,
tell us
Kristen.
a little bit about you, how you landed here. Tell us more of your story and how you launched this incredible business.
I landed here because of what happened to me. So I entered what a lot of people would refer to as my midlife crisis. Now, I do not like that phrase. I'll explain that in a minute. But I came into mine when I was about 49, and my only child was graduating from high school. My career wasn't where I wanted it to be, and I was going into perimenopause, and just all these changes all at once. And now granted, this was 6 years ago. We're talking about menopause a lot more, but then I felt very alone. I was trying to navigate all of this all by myself, and then COVID hit, and I spent a lot of time researching, and I got into coaching at that time. And so I was learning to be a coach and navigating my own chaos all at the same time. And I started a business, and I was working full time and running this part-time business. And things were, kind of going along, and we all know how the post-COVID, we were figuring it out as we went. And I was figuring out my own life as I went through all of that as well, on top of it. A year ago, I decided that my full-time job and my part-time job, I wasn't doing either one of them very well at all. And so I really hit the pause button on my coaching business. But what I was going through and what I did, looking back now, of course, is I understand that I was reinventing myself. I had struggled and struggled for these 5 years as I was putting the business together. But then when I hit last year, I set everything aside. I did this full on, full stop, paused everything. And what I did was I let go of control. And I surrendered to, the universe was telling me to slow down. And the months went by, so this is the super short version. The months went by, and I came to realize that I was taking everything that I had learned about myself and everything that I had done in my life, and I was putting it to use and made the most of it. And last February, I launched then Prioritize and Thrive Coaching. It felt so right. Everything happened for a reason. And the 2025 will go down in my book as the most magnificent year of my life. So it's been wonderful to reinvent myself, but it was all this chaos of midlife, not crisis. It's not a crisis, people. It's an opportunity. And that's what I did, is took advantage of that opportunity and reinvented myself.
I love that story, and I love that you saw the need to pause and think things through again. And instead of continuing to forge ahead like so many of us do, and we start a new business, we don't want to give up, we don't want to let go because we have this thing we're holding on to. And so we keep trying to push this thing. But you sat down for a moment and you recognized that maybe this thing that you were pushing wasn't quite right. And so you weren't afraid to pause and think it through and then reinvent yourself. So that word reinvention implies a significant shift. So talk a little bit about what happened in your life. What was that sudden spark of inspiration for you to want to even start a business? I mean, you had a full-time gig, things were going good. Why did you want to start a business in the first place?
So that's kind of a funny story. I had struggled for many years of I wasn't a thing. I wasn't an accountant. I wasn't a scientist. I wasn't a when I went to job boards, I didn't have that job title to put in there. I was a compilation of skills and experiences, and I knew what I loved to do. But I have a degree in environmental education. I became a personal trainer, and then I was an academic advisor. And I could not, how are those connected? What's the through line? And when I found this life or health coach certification program, I was like, that's it. I've been a coach this whole time, but didn't know to call myself that. And that for me was the skies parted, the angels sang, my life finally at age 49 made sense. It's like, oh, now I know what I want to be when I grow up. Um, and so it was so exciting to build this coaching business because it was like, finally, I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I thought it was going to be my side gig because I loved my job at the University of Minnesota. I loved the students I was working for. So it wasn't that I wanted to get away from it. I wanted to do this other thing too, also. But the pause happened because I wasn't doing either one of them very well. And I wasn't being the person I needed me to be as a coach, and my business wasn't loving me back. I wasn't loving my business, and it wasn't loving me back. And that really is what put the pause on. And I had to, like you said, pushing, pushing, pushing. I was wanting and wishing, and this has to work. It just has to work. And I was working from a place of desperation. And if anybody relates to the word being desperate for something to work, oh, you are definitely at a point where you need to reinvent yourself because then it will happen. But pushing, you can't be desperate.
Oh, no question. And that too, just like, it brings back memories of launching my own business so many years ago. And you kind of just like weave your way through in this interesting path while you decide who it is you're going to be and what it
Mhm.
is you're working towards. But you had an idea and you felt like something really resonated with you deep inside, and it was a passion project for you. And like you said, you didn't need to get another job. You were happy where you were at.
Mhm.
How did you manage to balance, though, launching a new business while still working full time and everything else?
Uh, eh,
Mm.
it didn't go well. It was, I think it was something that I wanted to do. So it was almost an exciting, as my 8 hour day ended, the full time, I got to then do this exciting work. And it was creative work. What kind of a program am I going to offer? How am I going to market it? For me, that stuff is exciting. So my brain would keep going, through some long days, and then working a lot of weekends too. My family was very understanding, and I was able to add more hours, of work hours to my week, and I made it work. I think when I got to last year and when everything felt so incredibly wrong, I think what I had done is I had built something like this and I had started this thing that could work. I had these little pieces that I had created, but there wasn't any, they didn't, they didn't quite mesh together as well as I needed them to. And when I took time to pause last year, I started to understand why I had created them and what they could now actually be. And so these things that were kind of floating out in my ether just came together then when I stopped being so desperate, when I stopped pushing.
That's an incredible concept of the idea that you're just allowing it in. You're allowing that change to come in and work itself out, and you were open to the, you were ready. You were
I
ready
was.
for that.
Mhm. Mhm.
So now that you are here and you feel like 2025 has just been your year, share with us what are some key principles, daily routines, or activities, or how has this been such an incredible year for you? And what's different about it other than you finally feel in sync? What are you
Mhm.
doing differently too?
I think the number one thing is um, letting things come to me instead of um, trying so hard to create them. I realized that I didn't like calling my coaching business a business. Well, it is, and I mean it's what it is. But when I focused on my business has to work, my business has to work. Well, wait a second. This is actually my creative outlet that will attract clients to me. And when I kind of rebranded the word business for in my own mind, it allowed me to be a little bit more free with how things came to me instead of being putting so much pressure on myself. So as far as routines, one of the things that I have been loving is starting my day. I get up and I exercise right away. But as soon as I get done exercising, and even before I jump in the shower, so it's a good thing nobody's around me at that time. But I spend a lot of time just writing what it is that I'm feeling, thinking about. So it's just free writing. And for me being an editor, it's a little hard and it's a challenge for me, but I'm getting better at just free writing with whatever comes to mind. And as these words roll out of my head, I am finding the most magnificent things that I hadn't considered it that way, or I hadn't even thought about that. But just this free writing. Now some people have heard of morning pages, or just different journaling prompts. You can call it whatever you want, but just letting your mind empty itself sometimes will just reveal the most wonderful things. And then on top of that, ending my day too with even the small wins. But I'll look back at my calendar for the day and any notes that I took with everybody that I talked to over the course of the day, and you know, end with gratitude and feeling, putting yourself in that place of abundance. I know everyone's like, oh my God, there's that word again, or, you know, yes, yes, live from abundance. But I'll tell you what, it's really true. And it doesn't need to be a lot. Maybe all I can think of is that I was, grateful for that one person that I ran into at the coffee shop or whatever. But that's at least something. Keeping myself positive. So starting my day with writing and ending it with writing. And if it's like 2 minutes, that's still something. But that has been one of the big changes that has helped me stay a little more focused without controlling everything or being thinking that I have to be so in control.
Well, that's a whole nother. I want to hear more about this abundance mindset. You right away you kind of cringed a little bit when you said the word because it comes with such a stigma, this live in abundance and
Yeah.
all of that. It can be a concept that's hard for people to wrap their hands around when they feel like they're just not. Like if I don't have $1 million in the bank, how am I living in abundance? So talk a little bit more about what living in abundance means to you and maybe even what it could mean to others kind of generally.
We are so quick to reference, to remind ourselves of what didn't work today, that what I should have said this, I wish this had happened. That is easy. Um, but it's almost like it's being lazy. It's a little bit harder to remind yourself of what you did do. I held the door for that one woman and her little toddler as they came out of the coffee shop. When you start to remind yourself of the good that you did, the good that you said, the people that you helped, you're just filling your own cup. And sometimes that is the most important part. Yes, we have others that when we're around them, we know that they fill us up and we're so happy to be around them. But our lives are our own. And we have to remember that we are just as responsible. We are the person responsible for making ourselves feel good and feel um, being positive. And one of the most amazing things that happened last year while I was sitting in this pause that I took was while I was writing the words, I am so lucky. I have such an amazing life. And when the words came out, at first I went, wait, what? Oh, I do. I'm healthy. My son is healthy. My husband's healthy. We have a great home. Yes, I do have an amazing life. But I had been pushing so hard that those words at first were wrong. I do not. Oh, wait a minute. Yes, I do. And it felt, it literally dropped me to tears. I just started bawling because I hadn't let myself look at my life as being so incredibly amazing because all I was doing was focusing on what wasn't working. And um, I think abundance has a little bit, I kind of cringe because I realize that a lot of listeners might be like, oh, that is so woo woo or so, you know, oh my God, there's that word again. Um, but it we get to give it our own definition and what being in abundance means for us. And if you take just a few minutes of your time to make your own definition, then you have a standard of your own to put your life up against. Not, I was just reading something about Taylor Swift, so she's in my mind. No, I don't have as much money as her, but you know what? I have all of this, and that's where I am. So it's
Awesome. That's so great. Um, so now with reinvention, I mean, I guess I can kind of assume what reinvention means, but talk us through a little bit about, your clients when you're most often, how do your clients find you? What is it? What's the breaking point that people get to where they're like, I just need help with this and I'm in the middle of this, or talk us through a little bit about how your clients come to you and then how you start the process of helping them walk through this, new or step into a new chapter, I guess I'd call it.
yeah. Well, reinvent. So let's take the word reinvention. Simply put, reinventing something is taking something that's already been invented, you, and making it anew. So it's not a new you. It's reinventing yourself gives you the opportunity to create a new version of you. So reinventing yourself takes everything that you know about yourself and have done in the past and put it to use for you. So I like to, and truly, midlife gives us the gift of reinvention by throwing all this stuff at us all at once. Our bodies change, our family dynamics change, our tolerance for our relationships changes, our careers evolve. And people tend to seek me out because all of this stuff is happening all at once and they just don't even know where to start with how do I navigate all of this. And we are living so much longer. So when we hit midlife at 45 or 50 or whatever age you're at, we still have another 30 plus years to look forward to. We hope that we do, right? So I like to help people realize who they've become. When we were in our 20s, we were out finding ourselves or, in search of who am I and who do I want to be. Now at our age, it's time to stop and realize who we've become because of all those experiences and skills. And we don't prioritize that when we're pushing and trying to, uh, build ourselves up, our careers and our families, and midlife just throws all of this stuff at us, and it can really make you feel beat down. But instead of a crisis, it's an opportunity to stop and step back. Okay, all right, fine. All this is going to happen. My body's changing. My family dynamics are changing. Okay, so now what? So seeing it as an opportunity. And so reinventing yourself is could be as simple as just reinventing the way you're thinking about your future, and it can be mindset. Or I've been helping a lot of people lately with career, reinventing their career. I can't do this anymore, but now what I want to do is this over here. Whether that's a side hustle, or I'm helping quite a few people through, I'm leaving this job. I want to take all my skills and go do something what would be completely different, like personal training versus academic advising. I mean, something that looks different, but they're taking all those skills that now that they realize that they have to go do something that will fill their give them joy, as opposed to the job that's been just beating them down. And so it can, I've, it's been a lot of different things, helping through relationships and careers. But it all comes down to mindset and looking at ourselves and our lives a little bit differently for the next 30 years.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I was just having a conversation with someone about that whole concept of here you have this job and you think you need to do this work and or you find yourself in this job because this is what you went to college for, or this is just the job you had and then you just kept it because it worked for you, and you do this job for like 45 years and then you wake up one day and you're like, "Ugh, now what?"
Yeah.
And I'm not done. I'm not spent yet. So, like, from my perspective, I had a huge life change a few years ago, and now I've been navigating this massive change in myself professionally because, I'm just turned 54. And yes, I'm working through my change in life, but I still feel like I have so much left to offer. My struggle, though, sometimes feels like in like putting together, like, what is it that I want to offer? Like, what makes sense for me? Or I don't know. Do you help people kind of identify what their strengths are, or is that
Yeah.
something, talk us through a little bit about that. How do they figure out that next step if they don't already know what they want?
Yeah. And that's what coaching is. Coaching is a process of discovery. So helping you through, I don't even know what I want, but I know I can't keep things the way they are. And what coaching is just a lot of listening and asking the questions that, our minds, if we get scientific about it, we our minds think the way it does because of the what we've been through in the past. So you hear, oh, your brain puts up walls, there's boundaries. And your brain can't get past some of those because it built them for a reason. So coaching is part compassion and part challenging. When I'm coaching someone, I'm going to challenge them with some questions that they might, cringe or not want to answer, but then coaching will work you through, why don't you want to answer that? Tell me more about what's there, and almost pushing the mind to think about things that it doesn't want to, and getting past, just moving past some of that stuff. And so when people are trying to figure out what am I supposed to do next, or what am I don't even know where to start, that's where coaching can help break down some of those barriers and boundaries.
That's amazing. That's amazing. As I mean, as listening to you talk, I mean, we're living such, I wouldn't say we're living parallel lives, but I'm kind of in that deal. Like and I will say, and I've said this a million times, and I just interviewed my hypnosis therapist, and she has such great insight. And what I loved about that, though, what I loved about my experience with her, the interview was great, but when I went through the sessions with her a year or more ago, um, it was really efficient. So, like you said, you've got these barriers and these guards that are keeping you from moving forward. And she kind of walks you through how to get through that. And it sounds like you're working through the same thing. You're just helping identify these
Hmm.
barriers. And
Hmm.
what I've found as I'm working through my journey too is vulnerability. And I'm doing a whole thing on it that I'll be putting out there, I think, next week. But um, from my experience having to do with the vulnerability of it all, we spend this time in our life and we build up these shields and these walls from some of the negative experiences that we've had, or because of a belief that the world expects us to be a certain way and a certain person and behave a certain way. And then when we realize that, hey, I'm not happy in that. I mean, I'm ready to like start feeling happier. Can I like be happy now? And try and then, but then it's like, whoa, wait a minute. For me to truly be my authentic self, to be happy, I'm gonna have to let myself be vulnerable.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
find that that's a hurdle? Is that something, is that a common thread?
Yes, and absolutely. I think it's almost an admission of vulnerability to admit that you do need to be coached. I do need someone to work with me through what I'm to so that I grow through what I'm going through. And it's I get to be, I am privileged and to be that person that gets to walk alongside people as they work through and be vulnerable and work through their chaos so that because they know that they can come out the other side and be that person that they want to, or make that change that they want to, or whatever their situation is. You remind my purpose, my personal purpose statement is that I want to motivate people to be brave, adapt so that they can thrive. I want them to be brave enough to make themselves a priority. I want them to adapt their behaviors and their beliefs to accommodate healthier, whether it's healthier habits or just healthier beliefs, and then thrive thanks to some confidence and some clarity. And coaching helps people get to that, and it just lights me up.
I love that so much. So there's got to be some challenges, though. I mean, listening to you talk, it sounds like you're just living your best life right now.
I
You've
am.
been doing some fun things, meeting some incredible people. You've been getting to share your insights and help people. And I mean, it just sounds so fulfilling. But I gotta believe there's been at least a few challenges unexpectedly perhaps that you've come across, have you, like, or it's just been all nothing but bliss?
I am not going to lie to you and tell you it's been all rainbows and butterflies. Even coaches need coaches. Coaches do not have it all figured out. We are definitely not perfect, but I think of all my coaching friends, many of whom and we want to help people get through what we know we've gotten through. So we know that we can, but then us as coaches too. I mean, I'll admit I have those days where I'm like, I really I can't do this anymore. Am I good enough to be able to help these people like I really want to? Um, and I'll let that thought come in and I'll sit with it, and then I think it for its time and kick it right out the door, because I have seen the good that I can do and the good that comes from it, and then I move through stuff. And we all do that. We all have those days of doubt that even though we're a professional and we're an expert on something, we know that we have something to give to the world. And so yeah, I've struggled with my own creativity and my own beliefs sometimes, but I'm here for a reason. I know it.
What are some of your best techniques though for overcoming those feelings of insecurities or challenges?
I think admitting, what is it that I'm feeling right now? And then like acknowledging it. Yes, I am sitting in self-doubt and you are wallowing in self-pity right now, girl. And okay, that's okay. You get to, but now you're done and it's time to not anymore. And so then it's more, just reminding myself of the good things that have happened. So at that end of day writing, I will look back on to remind myself that yes, I have done good, and yes, I can do good. Okay, okay, okay. So it's get up, dust myself off, and take a step forward. I don't quite know what I'm going to do, but I'm going to move forward. And I know that that sounds a little like, oh yeah, that's you make it sound so easy. It's not. And but it is what I have to do to myself, grab myself by the back of the, and up you come. Let's go.
Do you find that you have to kind of use a firm hand with some of your clients as well?
There, there's times where the challenging has to come in, where, okay, you said that it's okay that I challenge you on this. So here we go. I'm going to. But that's, some of the boundaries that we set at the beginning. But yes, I have had to do that a couple of times.
What have been some of your just like talk a little bit about, if you could, just a breakthrough that you've seen in a client, or I mean, when you, because I'm sure there's been a couple of times at least where that light bulb went off in in your client's mind and they just were like, and talk a
Hmm.
little bit about that feeling and how you came to that.
My favorite breakthroughs have come around definitions. We have assigned definitions to certain words, and they don't have to have that definition. For example, I had a woman who I was more on the health coaching side of things, and wasn't losing weight and wasn't her things just weren't working. She got injured and couldn't exercise anymore. Well, the exercise she had been doing was getting up and going to a 6 a.m. Boot camp class almost every day. And it was the type of exercise that was, you go from 0 to 60 and, heart rate is up. You can't talk because you're working out so hard. It was a hard workout. It was an hour. You walk out, you're completely, just drenched and exhausted. That's what exercise meant to her. So when she hurt her ankle, or no, it was her knee, and couldn't exercise anymore. Okay, well, how about going, how are you with walking? Okay, well, walking's fine. All right, what about you work in a big office building? What about doing laps up and down, the stairs and through the hallways? Is your knee okay for that? Yeah, it's okay for that. Um, you know, 20 minutes, 3 times a day. This is, 8-hour workday. Can you do that? Well, yeah, I can, but it took a while and pushing to get her to understand that that too was exercise. It was more than what she was doing just sitting around. Plus, she wanted steps. Walking and doing stairs is a great way for steps. We had to change the definition of exercise. Now, that sounds really simple, but it was a roadblock, complete roadblock for her. But the aha moment when she changed the definition of exercise, now that she could do it, lit her up. And she made such progress after that.
Oh, that's such a great story because it's such a simple concept, but you're right. It's just, it can be so enlightening because I think that we get stuck,
Yeah.
in whatever mud or muck we are in, we're stuck there. And
Yep.
we've got ideas, beliefs, and thoughts, and all these things are stuck right there with us. And that's what coaching's about, though, isn't it? I mean, it's
Yeah.
like you're there to be that outside, unbiased perspective to help people just, to move, to better move through life. That's got to be like the sheer definition of what it is you're trying to work with people on mostly is getting
Yeah.
unstuck.
Yes, absolutely.
It's just so great. It's
Yeah.
so great. So now I've got to ask, of course, and you can answer this in whatever way makes sense for you, but I love a little story or a little thought of inspiration for our audience. If you could share what's one thing either you wish you knew then that you know now, or what's been something, a guiding light for you, or what's inspired you the most throughout this process and this journey for yourself as a new business owner, even though your life was already beautiful,
Hmm.
you wanted to further enhance it by jumping into launching a business. What's keeping you going? What's some inspiration you can share with our audience so that they don't give up too?
The word dwelling came to mind as you were talking. And I think if I could go back and tell my younger self anything, would be those times that I was, you know, dwelling, ruminating, pondering, spending way too much time thinking so hard about something and dwelling on it to the point that I was making a mountain out of a molehill, if we go to that cliche. If I could tell my younger self anything, it would be in those moments, don't dwell on it. Be glad that you have the opportunity to be sitting in that, because if you're sitting in that, that means something's going to come from it. Don't dwell. Be excited for what's about to come and stop seeing it as something so bad and oh no and oh just no, let's just be happy that there's something going on that's going to lead to something. It's going to lead to something, right? Good, bad, or otherwise, it's going to lead to something. It's going to make a change. And I think th- not dwelling is actually surrendering. And last year when I was sitting in this, kind of pause, understanding what it means to surrender and know that something else is coming from it just means so much. So if I could give anything to anyone listening to this, if you feel like you're dwelling on something, just surrender and just like give it up to God if that's what you believe in, trust the universe if that's how you want to see it. Just know that there's something there that's going to come from it, and don't dwell on it.
My gosh, good, bad, or otherwise, everything is leading to something.
Hmm? Hmm.
What a great quote by Tracy Fallon. So
We
surrender.
we are a work
Just
in progress. We are
surrender.
evolving every day. Yes.
Oh, that's so fantastic. Thank you so much, Tracy. Where can we find you online, or how can we get a hold of you to tap into you and your expertise?
Yes, I can be found online at prioritizeandthrive.com. I have some workshops coming up. Some are virtual, some are in person, and that's on my events page. And then I'm also on social media. So on my website, it has all my links to my social media. I try to post something almost every day, but um, whether it's inspiration or just, oh my gosh,
Mm.
this is what's going on in life. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's been so fun talking to you, hearing your story. It's so inspirational because, lately, especially with the shift in our world and the economy and all these things, some people are making this huge launch into starting their own business out of a need or
Yep.
a situation instead
Mhm.
of a choice.
Yeah,
And I think it's just really empowering to know that you can do this. You can choose, you can be happy and then even be a little happier. There's nothing wrong with
absolutely.
that. If you've got more to offer and more to give, by all means, share it with the world. So thank
Yeah.
you for all that you do for helping people and sharing your insights so openly. I am so grateful to call you a friend, and I'm glad to know you. Thank you, Tracy.
Oh, Kristen, thank you so much, and thank you for having this platform for savvy leaders to learn from. So I appreciate you so
Yeah.
much.
Oh, thanks. I'm happy to do it. I just love it. I love hearing the stories. I just love hearing those stories. So thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Savvy Leader Podcast. Be sure to check the description below for any links or resources we mentioned today. And for even more inspiration and tools to help you on your own leadership journey, come on over and join the conversation in the Savvy Leaders Lounge. That's savvyleaderslounge.com. And we'll see you next time.